Good morning everyone. I thought I would do a video showing some tips and techniques and some products this morning. It's a beautiful day here in the mitten, here in sunny Michigan. It's going to be a hot one, so being inside in the air conditioning is a beautiful thing. So I thought I'd show you and explain a little bit about the card that I posted earlier on in the week. I posted this card here, which I made with the stamp of the month, and I've had quite a few people ask me questions about it, so I thought I'd explain it in a little bit more detail. So you can see that this is this feather stamp. It's absolutely lovely, it really is, and I stamped it here on this side. So how did I get the one feather behind the other? I used a mask. So what I did is I used the Memento black ink, because you can use the watercolor paints and the markers and water brush with this Memento ink, and it's not going to run everywhere. So I stamped my feather using this black ink. I then stamped it again on a piece of paper. I laid it over the top of that original image, kept it in place, and then you can actually see the line where I stamped it a second time, and then when I took this mask away, that second feather looks like it's behind the first one. And I used the shin hand markers and the blending pen to shade it and get this ombre effect down here. I then took the words, which is "there are so many beautiful reasons to be thankful," stamped it again in the Memento ink, coloured it with the markers, and then I used the watercolour paints and did this very light wash with a little bit darker in this corner, and then I actually spattered it with the watercolour paints. I loaded up my brush and shook it and spattered it on the white cardstock, so you have this distressed background. I think it's super pretty. Here are a few more cards that I made with this stamp of the month. So this one here, I used one of our products that's back in the idea book after some years of being retired. They brought it back and I'm super stoked. It's vellum. This is vellum. It's a translucent paper that has some stiffness to it. You can see through it, so it almost looks slightly cloudy. It's beautiful. It gives a very soft effect. So here again, I stamped that feather again using that masking technique. Started with this one, then I did this one, and then I did that one. Again with the Memento ink, which works beautifully on vellum. You do have to give it a few moments to dry. It doesn't dry instantly because vellum has a slightly glossy surface, or slightly smooth surface, so the ink doesn't soak into it as well. So just be a little patient, stamp your flowers, go do something else, and come back a few minutes later and it will be dry. Again, I used the shin hand markers to colour in the vellum. Now you can see the word thanks here, which is from the stamp set here, and if I hold the card that way, you will see that the vellum is actually attached. I used 3D foam tape, all right, because the word thanks is actually underneath the vellum. It's actually on the cardstock on the bottom, so it gives it this very soft look. I was really thrilled with this card. It's not necessarily my style, but I just really like the way it came out. I think it's really striking. So feel so blessed. Thanks for everything. So you have, as I say, all these different ways of saying thanks, thankful, with gratitude, feel so blessed. You've got the hearts and the arrows, the numbers, and then you've got the cute border as well. So it's a fun set, lots of different ways of saying thanks. And I really like that one. All right, so our next one, I used the word thanks again. I really like this font. It's just so pretty. And this time I added one of the leaf banners to it. Okay, I combined it this time with our embossing folder. I am totally obsessed with the embossing folder. I think I've embossed everything I've laid my hands on. This is it. This will fit into your Big Shot or your Cuttlebug, whichever embossing machine that you have that will take a 5x7 or a 5x8 folder. Absolutely love one. This is the newest one, and you can see here, just as I had my paints out for this very first card, I decided to use the watercolor paints and actually paint within the embossed lines. Very pretty, and they're just some simple stamping. Then you've got a really pretty card. I've used the edge distresser to distress the edges of the cardstock, and that gives it this little bit of a rustic feel to it. The grey twine adds some softness and some texture, and the new bashful glitter paper, which I think belongs on every single project I'm going to make from now on, I'm sure of it. And some Bashful Pearls, just add some shimmer. So you've got a lot going on, but it's a really, really pretty card. All right, so that's the embossing folder. Okay, so on my last card, I combine them both. I combine the vellum and the embossing folder and the stamp of the month and feathers and colouring and everything and spattering. Yes, haha. So this was it. So again, I used the frame. There's so many reasons to be thankful. I added some ribbon to it for some texture. Here I stamped, and I can hold up one feather where I've stamped it. Again, used that Memento ink and I stamped it on the vellum. This time, instead of using the markers to colour it, I used the pencils to colour it. So if you compare the difference between the pencils and the markers, you can see it's a much, much softer shade when you use those watercolour pencils as opposed to those vibrant alcohol markers. Two totally different products, and will give you two totally different looks, exactly the same stamp, and it's amazing how different you can get the image to be just by changing the colours. So again, I used the embossing folder on the vellum, and one of my ladies asked me yesterday, how do you attach vellum to a card? Well, because it is translucent, you've got to hide that adhesive, and the perfect way to hide it is by adding adhesive underneath an area. So for example, on this card, where again I used the same embossing folder and again I coloured it with the markers, my vellum is completely loose. It's glued down under this section. My lady said, well, you know, it's loose. Is it going to get damaged? No, it isn't, because it's securely attached underneath, and all the adhesive you would find underneath this section here. But it actually gives it some movement when you have some looser layers, and the fact that it's so the vellum is so stiff, it won't move too far. So that's a little tip and a trick for attaching vellum. So for my vellum, you can see I added a drop of liquid glass underneath the flower to attach the vellum to the base, and then hid that liquid glass with one of my flowers. Okay, so I've used the vellum here with the embossing folder, and then again, as I said, I just said, did it on the feathers, and then if I tilt it, I actually used the shimmer brush, and I spattered the shimmer brush, and I'm hoping that the light is catching the little dots and the spatters of shimmer brush all over it. I used the pencils to colour in the words. There are so many beautiful reasons to be thankful. And then I actually lightly shimmer brushed over those letters as well. So that gives you 4 more cards using this stamp set. Some of them use the feathers, some of them just use the words. Showing you some tips and techniques with the embossing folders and using a mask. So lots of fun things for you to try today when you're working. This set is available just during September, so you've got a week or so left to get it. You can find it on my website, sarabatkin.ctmh.com. It's a stamp of the month set, so you can pay full price for it if you wish at $17.95. It's so worth it. But if you'd like to get it at a reduced price, at a $50 order, you can have this set for just $5. Yay, gotta love that. I love to save. Okay, so I hope you like it. I hope I've given you some good ideas. Happy crafting.